right, peace. Great evening to you. Welcome to the Inspector Flow info session this evening. Thank y'all for joining. For those of you who don't know, my name is Nita. I am the founder and lead instructor at Inspector Flow. Tonight, the purpose of us getting together is to answer some general questions, give you some information about the home inspection industry in general, and then to give you some specific information about what we have to offer you here at Inspector Flow, and then answer any questions that you have. You'll want to make sure you stay to the end because that's when I will answer all of the questions. I'll have you out of here within the hour. We won't be longer than an hour. So again, thanks for tuning in, everybody across all of the platforms. I typically like to wait a couple of minutes to let everybody get in, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started to respect everybody's time. So again, a brief roadmap of where we're going. I want to talk again, just in general, a little bit about home inspecting, what it is, the opportunities. I want to talk about the main test or exam, the NHIE, that you typically have to pass in order to be licensed. Oops, I don't want that. And then I want to give you some examples. So we'll talk about some specific states, Maryland being one of them. I'll share with you some of the hurdles or barriers that you can expect to face as you're working towards becoming a home inspector, what you can expect after you become a home inspector, and then finally, again, what we have to offer you here at Inspector Flow. So again, it'll be short and sweet, and I'll be happy to answer your questions at the end. So getting started with home inspecting. First of all, home inspector is just somebody who provides a visual inspection of the main systems and components of a home. There are 10 main systems. You have your roof, exterior, foundation, plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical, fireplace and chimney, the interior, and then also attic and insulation. So those are the 10 major systems of every home. And then there are several different components that fall up under each of those different systems. And so you have to be able to basically inspect, observe, and report on each of those 10 systems and provide a corresponding report. 80% of the people who buy homes all across this country are required to use home inspectors. So this is not one of those cases where you're going to be begging and pleading with people, trying to convince them that they need a home inspection. For the majority of people who are in our country, they're required by their lender as a form of due diligence, typically to have an inspection as well as an appraisal. Okay, so that's what we do. And so again, this is not one of those things where you got to be begging and pleading with people to use your services. People are actually going to be looking for you because in a lot of cases, their deal closing or not will depend upon them having an inspection and everything being okay or favorable in terms of the report. So that's what a home inspector does and who we kind of work for. In order to become a home inspector, there are certain states, I think there are like 35 states now that are what we call regulated, meaning that they have some sort of requirements, licensure requirement in order to basically inspect in their states. If you are in a non-regulated state, then that means that there are no specific requirements. Those requirements typically include educational hours, passing of the exam, the NHIE, and then professional requirements like, filling out the application, paying your fee, getting insurance, different things like that. So there's no college required. There's no previous experience required. Obviously, if you have it, it would be helpful, but there are no prerequisites as far as that's concerned in terms of just getting started with the journey. So these are the non-regulated states. So if you live in one of these states, there are no requirements from the state in terms of getting licensed. So there's not a home inspector license in these states. Basically, the best that you can get is usually a certification which is cool because again, they don't require them there. So if you live in one of these states, basically as soon as you learn how to actually complete the inspection and fill out and do the report, you're able to get up and running. So make sure you screenshot this, because if you're in one of these states, your path will be a lot quicker and easier than some people in other states who have specific licensure requirements. In talking about those licensure requirements, again, the National Home Inspector exam is the main test that is required for most of the regulated states. They're going to say, hey, you have to get X amount of hours, plus you have to take and pass the NHIE. Some states even require you to have a certain amount of mock inspections or a certain amount of hours working up under a licensed inspector. So in terms of the exam, to take the test, there's a $225 fee. The test is 200 multiple choice questions, and you have 4 hours in which to complete. Now, this test is a very difficult test, so difficult that over half of the people who take it fail the first time, okay? At Inspector Flow, we're averaging about 3 times, taking it 3 times to in order to pass it. It's no joke. It's a very, very difficult test, and it requires an investment of time and energy in order to prepare to pass it. One thing that I see that a lot of people face with the test is that you don't realize, because most of us are adults, we out of school, you don't realize how psychologically taxing or difficult it is to not only prepare for the test, but once you arrive at the test, you basically sit in a room, they pat you down like you're about to go to jail. You sit in a room with the computer, there's no talking. Sometimes you have people tapping around you, all these different distractions, and 200 questions is a lot of questions. These are not like just basic definition type questions. A lot of the questions are in-depth scenarios that you have to kind of like really read, translate the question, and then choose the right answer. And 200 of those questions can really be a lot. And psychologically, it's easy to check out because, again, it can just get overwhelming. So again, if you are in a regulated state, there's a good chance that you're going to have to take and pass this test. Unfortunately, if you don't pass it, you do have to wait 30 days before you can register to take it again, and you must pay every time that you take the test. Okay, so that's the big bad NHIE that we're all working basically to get past. Talking specifically about states, right? So Maryland is a regulated state. In Maryland, there is a requirement for 72 hours of education. Each state will have what they call qualifying education providers. And so basically it's a list of schools that you have to go to in order to get those state mandated hours. You can look on the website and they'll give you a list of them. For many states, Internashi will satisfy the educational hour requirement. Internashi, ICA, AHIT, those are probably some of the most popular schools that you can go to in order to satisfy those hours. Once you complete the 72 hours in Maryland, you then have to take and pass the NHIE. Once you get past that, again, it's just professional requirements at that point, paying the application fee, purchasing your insurance, all of that kind of stuff. And then they'll issue you a license and you'll be ready to go. This in contrast with a state like Georgia, right, where there are no requirements. So in Georgia, there would be no requirement that you got 72 hours of education or that you took and passed the NHIE. Same thing for Pennsylvania, for Michigan, for California. Those again are all non-regulated states where, again, there are just no licensing requirements. So the very first thing that you have to do is decide or determine which state you're going to be inspecting in, and then find out their specific requirements in order for you to get licensed. One thing that I will recommend, even if you are in a non-regulated state, I still believe that it's good to pass the NHIE, because I do think that at some point, they're already talking about it now, but at some point, I believe that every state will be regulated, and it's a good chance that the NHIE will be one of the requirements for everybody in order to get licensed as a home inspector. You have to learn this stuff anyway. So I just think that it's good to go ahead and get it, pass it. You only have to pass it once and then you're done. Also, even if there are no requirements for you to do so in your state, do not inspect without having insurance, right? So still purchase, I recommend general liability that will cover you if you damage somebody or something during your inspection, as well as E&O, which will cover you if you make a mistake or you miss something, don't cover something during an inspection. Even again, if there are no specific state requirements, it's still important to be covered. Okay, so that's Maryland in terms of a regulated state. And again, all of the other regulated states will be similar. The only thing that will change is some states have a requirement for 120 hours. I think Florida requires 120 hours. Some states require 80 hours. The only thing that will change will be the difference in educational hours required, and also if the state has a requirement for any mock inspections. Okay. So what are you going to face while you're trying to get all of this done? Home inspecting, I've started home inspecting about 5 years ago now. And once I found out about the industry, I was super excited about it because it's a trade, you know, and trades were good for people in my community. It was a way for us, you know, to learn something that you could take anywhere, make money, make a decent, honest living for your family. And so, you know, they took those out of the schools, and now we have an opportunity in 2023 to now be a part of real estate trades like inspecting, appraising, and other different things. But one of the things that I found out was that there were several hurdles or barriers specifically for, again, people from my community. The number one hurdle or barrier is education. You heard me earlier mention some of those different schools and places that you can go to. One of the issues that I have found, excuse me, is that the educational options, they often leave students wanting in terms of actually learning the information. For example, if you're in Maryland and they tell you that you have to get 72 hours, you go to, you know, you choose your provider and you click through, you know, a bunch of videos and handouts and you get your 72 hours, but that's not really enough to teach you actually, again, how to inspect those 10 major systems, how to do the report, how to pass the test is not enough. And so that's been one of my biggest gripes, is that a state will have quote unquote qualified education, meaning you have to go to one of these places, but then those places don't always, in my opinion, provide comprehensive education. So again, you would go complete the hours, but you still wouldn't actually know how to inspect, how to do a paid inspection, right? And so I noticed that was an issue right off the bat. The second thing is in-field training or mock inspecting. There's one thing to learn this information from the book, and then there's another thing to be able to recognize and identify what you learned in the book in real life. And so a lot of these places were not providing any of that or a little bit of that, and they're not geared towards people who are new. The education is often geared towards people who come from a background in construction, a background in the trades. And while that's cool, again, a lot of the people from my community that I wanted to share the opportunity with didn't come from a background in that. And so there should be education and training for everybody at every level, whether or not you have experience or whether you are starting from scratch. And so I saw that too as a problem very on. And then finally, The business setup training. Most home inspectors end up being entrepreneurs, meaning they run their own home inspection company. You don't have to. You could, of course, go and work up under somebody, but for most people, that's one of the perks of getting into this is being your own boss, having control of your time, your schedule, etc. But again, these schools that you go to, they don't teach anything about business. And I don't know about you, but I've been in business, over 10 years, and I've had to learn pretty much everything the hard way. There was no manual for, starting my business and, how to set up a business entity and taxes and insurance and booking and all of these different things that go along with, just running a business outside of inspecting. They weren't covering and they weren't teaching. And you may be wondering how I know this, and that's because I paid to be a part of all of these different schools so that I could see, what was going on and what type of education. And so it all started to click to me. And in my opinion, it's set up that way to keep out minorities, to keep out women, and to keep out youth. Home inspectors right now are predominantly white guys in their 50s and up. The majority of the home inspection industry at this point are considered to be baby boomers, which means that they're on their way out of the industry, which means that there's going to be a void and a great opportunity for people to come in and take their place. But how would that happen in an equitable fashion if there's not proper education, training, mentorship, whatever the case may be, set up for people to learn how to inspect, for them to be able to pass the test to get their license, and then to be able to actually run a business. So I'm just telling you now straight up front that if this is something that you're serious about, these are going to be some of the barriers that you encounter. And really all of these issues are the reason why I created and started doing Inspector Flow. So Inspector Flow, what is it and what do we have to offer you? So again, coming off of those different hurdles and different barriers to getting into the industry, what I did was I created Inspector Flow to focus primarily on minorities, women, and youth, providing them with the education, the training, and support that they need to successfully enter the industry, right? And so we do that in a number of different ways, right? So Inspector Flow is 20 weeks of live virtual classes taught by myself and other qualified instructors. It is a very intense 20 weeks, okay? Each week we go through and learn one of those 10 major systems that I mentioned earlier. There's homework, there's quizzes, we have exams, the whole nine. It is a very intense program. Not only do we cover the 10 major systems, but we go over NHIE test prep. We do practice questions. We talk about test taking strategies. We do everything that we can to prepare you to be ready to take and pass the NHIE. And we also cover home inspector business mastery. So once you leave Inspector Flow, all of our students have created their business entities, set them up with their state. We talk about marketing, social media marketing, just everything that you can think of in terms of starting and running your new business. And we get all of that done in 20 weeks. We meet every Sunday for class, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We don't recognize any holidays, no weather delays. By hook or by crook, we will be having class every Sunday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern. Every week we have homework that is due on Wednesday by 11:59 p.m. And every week we also have a study session, which is sort of kind of like a study hall, just kind of like a more relaxed environment to go over homework, to ask any questions, and to make sure that you understand the material for that week. Because again, it is a very fast paced and all of the information builds upon each other. So at the end of Inspector Flow, you would have received over 80 hours of live training. One of the things that I've consistently heard from our students is that the live classes is really what makes the difference for people who are learning this information, especially for people who are learning this information new or from scratch. Going through videos and reading through handouts for most people is not going to be enough. This is the type of information that needs to be taught live, like how we're talking now. There's always a presentation with pictures, diagrams, so that you can truly understand the information. So over 80 hours of live instruction. At the end of our 20-week section, we have a celebration, and we also have mock inspections here in Cleveland, Ohio. So you will come. We got students in over 17 different states now. At the end of the 20 weeks, everybody meets up in Cleveland, and we're outside all day in houses, actually inspecting, practicing, and again, reinforcing the information that we learned in the book. My goal is to help you be able to pass the test. So again, we have to learn the book material, but even more than that, I want you to be able to show up as a confident and competent inspector when it's actually time, when you actually are in the field and it's time to inspect and report on somebody's house. So those mock inspections at the end are super important. So that's kind of what you can expect as a student of Inspector Flow. Another one of the benefits that I hear the most about is the community support. When I started as an inspector, I was not able to find anybody in my local market to help me, to ask questions, to let me shadow, to mentor. None of that. I had to fly to another state to work with a Black inspector who was able to help me with my training and my education. And Inspector Flow, we've graduated already over 60 different inspectors from, like I said, 17 different states. So there's already a community of people who are all moving in the same direction. We have some people who are still trying to pass the test. We have some alumni who have passed the test. They're actively inspecting in their respective states and, generating revenue doing so. And so whenever there are questions, there are concerns, there are issues, instead of being left out to your own, there's an opportunity for you to come to the community to get the answers and the support that you need. You may not realize it now, but that is a huge, huge benefit and a huge value, again, when you are new in this industry and you are learning and kind of trying to get your feet into the game, so to speak. So once you have completed your requirements, I forgot this one, live classes and study sessions or mock inspections and trainings. Once you pass your exam, you've completed your licensure requirements, whatever the case may be. At Inspector Flow, our time is basically kind of broken up into 3 semesters, if you will. The first semester is your 20 weeks of education. The second semester is basically 90 days of test prep and passing. Again, as of right now, our data shows us that it is taking our students on average 3 attempts at the NHIE to pass. And as I stated, you can only take it once every 30 days, right? So after you finish your 20 weeks of education and you graduate and you become an alumni, the next semester is going to be 90 days of basically prepping and working to take the test and attempting to pass it. We have monthly study sessions to come in and, again, just test prep sessions to practice and prepare for that exam. It is a very nerve-wracking exam. You will find out it can get frustrating. So again, it's good to have those test prep sessions where you can come in, review the information, ask questions, and then, be prepared to take the exam. The last semester is your first 90 days actually inspecting, right? So those are 3 very distinct time periods, right? That first, again, semester is all about just strictly education. The second semester is all about strictly passing the test, and getting past that once and for all. And then that third and final semester is about, okay, now that I'm actually in the field, you have different issues at every semester, right? The people who are working on, we have IF4 in class right now. the things that we're talking about with our alumni who are in semester 3, who are out actively inspecting, those are two totally different set of issues. They can't think about, inspecting and marketing and all that kind of stuff right now because they're in class actually learning the information. And so after, again, this is we're in the middle of our 4th live session right now. And the data has shown me that breaking it up into these 3 semesters is the best way to support you throughout the whole process. The education, the test prep, and actually when you get out into the field, how do I market? How do I work with realtors? I'm having this problem. I need help with my report. All of those different types of things we deal with in those first 90 days as an inspector. In terms of money, right? Because we all care about the money, right? The earning potential matters. The national average cost for a home inspection is $450. In some areas, it's less than that. In some areas, it's obviously more than that, but the national average is $450. We teach our students the 6-figure home inspector blueprint, which is basically to average 1 home inspection a day. You don't have to work every day, but we're looking to average 1 home inspection a day in order to generate at least $100,000 per year as an inspector. In your first month, your goal, which is a very doable, reachable goal, should be to do 10 inspections. So you have 30 days in which to get 10 inspections. If you did those 10 inspections at an average cost of $450, you would have generated $4,500 in revenue for that month, okay? That is not uncommon at all. We have several students from different states who in their first month, they have done 10, and some have even done more, okay, than 10. Again, remember, people are looking for you. They are required to have you. This is not a bunch of selling, begging, baby, please type deal. This is not that, okay? By your 6th month, the goal is to have doubled that so that you will be doing 20 inspections. Again, you have 30 days to get 20 inspections at that same average cost of $450. That's $9,000 a month. Your average schedule is going to be typically no more than 2 inspections a day. You have a morning and an evening. An inspection is going to take you on average anywhere from 2.5 hours, depending upon the size of it, and then maybe another hour and a half to tidy up and submit your report. So you're only looking at doing a max of 2 a day. And then again, there are some people who inspect primarily on the weekends. So they might inspect, all day, Friday and Saturday, so that they can still work their job during the week or whatever the case may be. But you can see 20, it's not hard at all to do 20 inspections. It's not hard at all to get to a point where you are inspecting. That doesn't again mean that you are working even 20 days out of the week, but just doing 20 inspections. And so there are not many other jobs, careers, trades that you can get into with no college degree, no previous experience. You can learn it in 6 months, and then your first month out be making, $4,000, $4,500 like you can as a home inspector. So the earning potential is definitely there. The money is absolutely there. Again, it's not hard to get clients and to be booked. You basically have to just show up, build your relationships with your realtors who are in touch with your clients. A lot of times the realtors will do warm transfers for you. So again, the selling and all of that, not really a huge factor when it comes to home inspecting. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat, excuse me, either about home inspecting or inspector flow, period. I do want to let you know, you guys will hear it here first. We're going to be hosting mock inspections this July 28th and 29th that are going to be open to the public here in Cleveland. We're going to be outside inside of real houses. You'll be guided and instructed by experienced inspectors. We're going to be able to, again, help you. The mock inspection, getting the hands-on experience is really important to this process. If you have applied and are going to enroll in Inspector Flow, you will be able to attend these mock inspections for free. If you are not interested in enrolling in Inspector Flow, that's cool, no problem. You can still come. There's a $500 ticket, and it's a 2-day situation. The first day, we will be inside of houses, outside all day. The second day, we'll have a panel discussion with some inspectors, realtors, other real estate professionals, as well as some other training for new and current inspectors. So just to put that on your mind, Inspector Flows, excuse me, is not for everybody, and I definitely understand that. But I still want you to be able to have the information and access at least to the education and training that you need to get into this field, if that's something that you're serious about doing. If you want to expedite your process and in the next 6 months really be doing this, then Inspector Flow is for you. If you can make the investment of time and also the investment of money, in 6 months, you'll be ready to inspect. That's just how we give it up at Inspector Flow. Again, I won't, this is not a salesy thing. I want right fits, right? I want to be the right fit for you, and I want you to be the right fit for us. So it's very, very intense, and you can expect that you will be, again, making a significant investment of time and energy to get through this material in 20 weeks. So IF5, or our next live session, starts this summer, August 20th. We're back to our regular size class, so that's no more than 30 students. So if you want to apply, the applications are open. You can apply at inspectorflowapp.com. There is a $25 application fee. So we looking to work with people who are serious only. So inspectorflowapp.com. You can apply. Class starts August the 20th. All right. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I'll start to answer the questions, and then we'll be out of here. I want to start inspecting in Illinois. Where to find the requirement? I can't remember the name of the department that manages or that sets up the rules for Illinois. But if you literally, matter of fact, let me just do it for you. Right? Why not just do it for you? No problem. We have several students from Illinois as well. Shout out to Dre from IF1, Next Level Home Inspections, JD. So here's I just put it in the chat. If you literally just Google your state and home inspector, if it's a regulated state, the information will pop up. I'm in Georgia. Where would I need to look? Georgia is a non-regulated state, so there are no licensure requirements for Georgia. Do you do financial aid, or does one have to pay up front? Good question. So you can pay your tuition up front in one payment. There are payment arrangements, and we are offering for the first time ever scholarships. I'm super excited and thankful for our partners who have invested, so that we will have 3 $1,000 scholarships to award to people who have been accepted. So the first step is to apply, be accepted, and then we will award the scholarships. And again, if you need payment arrangements, payment plans, we do offer those as well. Do you have to get qualified in multiple states if you want to expand? Example, I get certified in Maryland, but I also want to cover Virginia. That's another good question. So for an area like the DMV, right? So in DC, there are no licensure requirements. In Maryland and Virginia, there are. So you would literally need to be licensed in Maryland, and then you would need to get licensed in also Virginia. The good thing about that is that typically with the regulated states, the requirements are kind of like very similar, right? So let's say Virginia requires 100 hours, and Maryland requires 72. Typically, you only have to do the difference. And again, the testing requirements are typically going to be the same. So once you have completed the requirements in one state, it is typically fairly easy to then get licensed in another state. But in your example, if you were to go for from DC to Pennsylvania or DC to Georgia, then you would be good to go because you would be going from non-regulated to non-regulated state. So hope that makes sense. Wisconsin is a regulated state. We actually had somebody to get licensed in Wisconsin. And shout out to Chris Jackson. He got licensed in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and I can't remember the number of hours that's required in Wisconsin off the top of my head. I know Maryland very well because we have a lot of students from Maryland, and we've gone through that a lot. So any other questions? Any other questions regarding inspector flow or regarding the home inspection industry in general? After you complete the requirement, would you be directly connected to Realtor Network to start working? After you complete which requirement? I'm not sure which requirement you're referring to, but I will say this: after, as a part of inspector flow, you do have access to a whole network of real estate professionals across the country. My day job, I started out as an investor, so I still buy and sell properties here in Cleveland. I'm connected to a bunch of investors and realtors and inspectors all across the country, and I typically connect our alumni, our students with those connects. If people need to get inspection hours done, we typically connect them to an inspector in their area for them to be able to get their hours done. Like I said, we have tons of trainings with inspectors from all over the country. So I think that's what you're referring to. If not, let me know. After applying, how long until we hear something back? So everybody's application will be processed within 30 days. So you apply, there's some information that we send out to you. There's a interview so that you get a chance to ask our staff some questions, our staff, as well as you get to speak to some of our alumni so you can ask them questions. We can ask you questions, again, just making sure it's a great fit. If you are somebody who has a bunch of stuff going on and you are flying by the seat of your pants all the time, inspector flow is probably not going to be for you, because I am a no nonsense instructor. We have a lot of information to get done, to get through. And I'm serious about this. This is a goal of mine. I'm investing a lot of my time and money into this. And so I'm only looking to work with people who are also able to make the investment of time and money. Again, you can go, this is why I'm giving you all of the information, right? So I'm not gatekeeping this and saying that you got to come to inspector flow. I'm giving you all of the information. If you feel like, you would be better served on your own, I know that's not the case according to the data, but if you feel like you could go at it on your own, you're more than welcome to. Still happy to answer questions. But again, if you're serious about this and you want to expedite the process and really be connected to people who are already moving in that direction, then inspector flow is going to be for you. So to answer your question, Jermaine, within 30 days, again, class starts August the 20th. You can apply at inspectorflowapp.com, inspectorflowapp.com. We have several students, Mike, in Philadelphia, PA. Shout out to Tamia. She is an accountant turned home inspector. As I said, we have over 60 graduates from over 17 different states. As you can see in this picture, these are our graduates from IF1. On the very first slide, those are our graduates from IF2 and IF3. You will see that, again, we are big on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have majority of our students are women, majority of our students are Black. Our youngest student was 21, our most seasoned student was 60. So again, if we specialize in providing education for minorities, for women, and also for youth. Okay. Any more questions? Hopefully cleared up. Can you please give an example of a slow session where there's almost no work? Okay, good question. So obviously in the wintertime, when the real estate market slows down, there is a slowdown in inspections. I still, even when there's a quote unquote, when we're in the quote unquote slow season, I just showed you the breakdown. If you were able to do 10 inspections, even let's say you didn't get $450, let's say you got $400, that's still $4,000. 10 inspections at just call it even 3 hours of your time. 10 inspections, 3 hours of your time, that's 30 hours total worked, $4,000 generated. Not to mention, I didn't get into, but we also talk about and teach what we call ancillary services, such as mold sample testing. A lot of our students, we have trainings on drone pilots. So a lot of our students are drone pilots. So we talk about ancillary or other ways to use our inspecting skills in order to generate money. If you're not interested in being an entrepreneur and running your own home inspection company, you could actually use these same skills to get a job as a building inspector with your local building and housing. That's a government job with benefits and the whole nine. So there are several different tracks you can take once you have this information, I'll say. I'm going to look through your page to find out the home inspector's salary as well. Don't want to bombard you with questions. Yeah, no problem, Mike. So I mentioned earlier that the national average cost for a home inspection is $450. So I don't think I've seen some estimations about, what the average home inspector is making. I'm not sure that I agree with them because most of the home inspectors that I know are making great money. So is there a drone school you would recommend? I do not have a drone school that I recommend because I didn't go to a school, but I did do a drone pilot training challenge. So you can check that out too. At inspectorflow.com, I did a 3-day challenge where a lot of people were able to go and get their drone pilot license from there. But in terms of a school, I know that they have like online courses. There's not the drone pilot license is directly through the FAA, and the FAA does not have a school or whatever, but, just people who have, created different courses and things like that. There's YouTube videos. Test isn't hard. It's not difficult at all. In regulated states, are there annual CE requirements? Yes, in most states that are regulated, there are typically CE hours that are most often accomplished by international. So yes, there are some classes and things that you have to take. Some of them are, some states, I believe Maryland is one of those states where you renew every 2 years. So some states you have 2 years to complete them. Some states are every year, but easy peasy, no problem. If you have any questions, again, if you want to do your research on me and Inspector Flow, you can look me up on IG, Twitter, House Center 216, subscribe to my YouTube. I got tons of free training, study sessions, the whole nine on there. You can if you look me up anywhere, you'll find me and you'll be able to find our students and you can go and ask them, and like I'm low key the truth at this. So you can go and you can vet me out, and all should be well. I actually encourage that. So if there are no more questions, I will go ahead and let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining me, for tuning in. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out or leave them as a comment up under the video. Y'all have a great day. Peace.